I'm starting off, for those of you that aren't familiar with me, a little bit of information about me. I'm gonna just give this to you really quick because this isn't about me. But my background is as a real estate journalist. That's where I learned a lot of my communication skills, my phone communication skills and otherwise. And then I became an entrepreneur, started my first business in 1987. The Phone Lady has been the business of my dreams since 2006. And I've been able to work with over 400 clients and train over 15,000 people. Actually, I haven't added that up for about 18 months, so I should take a look at that. And do a lot of work in the financial industry. So my clients there have about 2.7 trillion in assets, which was kind of fun to add up. I'm the author of the phone book. So there's a link there. I have a coaching program for entrepreneurs and small business owners and salespeople. I'm on LinkedIn, and I would be delighted to connect with everybody on this call on LinkedIn. That's my preferred platform. This is the monthly webinar that you're on, Inspire Conversation. And of course, I have my bi-weekly blog that you're welcome to sign up to. So I'm going to get us started with a story. As the Phone Lady, I have the privilege of listening to my clients' phone calls. The technology is available in many different formats for them to send me audio calls of their salespeople or their customer service staff, and I am able to audit those calls and produce a report for them and also create really customized training. And I love this part of it. So over the weekend, I was listening to some client calls. And while the calls were good, even though all three of the individuals I listened to had the same job and the same mandate on their calls were very different, and they all included different kinds of information. Again, even though they were speaking to potential customers about the same service, they all had different information they were sharing. And this is difficult for companies because then it's very difficult to know if your sales process or your customer service process is actually working, if everybody's doing something different. So today, what we're looking at is how you can create an effective and efficient call, but also create a pattern for that call so it's repeatable for everybody. And it starts with creating an agenda. And I want to share with you what the word agenda means. So it comes to us from 1650s Latin, and it simply means things to be done, things to be done. So on all of our phone calls, we have things we want to accomplish, and an agenda becomes a really important part of that. Now in 1882, this word started to be used specifically as items of business to be done at a meeting. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about the importance of viewing all your phone calls as meetings. Is more important today than ever before. So when we treat our conversations with clients and customers as meetings, we continually make things happen. So we're not hanging up the call or having the video conversation and going, I forgot that, or we didn't take a step forward during that conversation. We always want to be crafting your calls, your conversations, so that projects are moving forward. Now, one thing I'll say, please use chat or Q&A to ask questions throughout. I don't mind getting interrupted. Well, you won't be interrupting me because part of this is to interact with you. So don't hesitate to ask a question or add a comment anytime. So speaking of which, here's our agenda for today. So before we get into how to create an agenda or what one might look like, I'm going to talk to you about the value of an appointment app. And then I'm going to share with you some of the most common phone communication questions I receive and how they all relate to the idea of agenda. And then we're going to talk about the skills for making this agenda work on the phone. And I've got questions and comments there as number 4, but as I've just said, please ask those questions or share those comments at any time. I've learned how to keep one eye on chat successfully, so please don't hesitate. So effective and efficient calls or video conversations. So when I use the word calls, I mean both phone and video, need everyone's focus, right? If one or two of us, if some of us aren't focused, the call is not effective and it's not efficient. So how do we make that happen? Well, one of the things I've learned in the last 2 years is that the world we live in, the culture we're living in, has impacted phone calls. So I certainly grew up in a world where if I wanted to watch Seinfeld or West Wing, I had to be in front of a television when the theme music started. Mind you, I was pretty good with the VCR, but for the most part, we needed to be in front of the TV when the program aired or we missed out. And that's not the world we live in now, of course. We can access any program, any movie, any piece of music, any documentary, anytime, which is amazing. But this is indeed impacting phone conversations. The unexpected phone call is today often perceived as an unappreciated intrusion because we're used to having full control of our time. We are used to being able to choose when we do things and how we structure our day. And even more important during this pandemic time, when we're juggling, many of us being at home and also working and dealing with maybe children or other obligations at home while also working. So our time, we really structure our time. And what we need to do then is really treat all our phone conversations, even if they're 10 or 15 minutes, as meetings. And doing this has really helped me communicate clearly with both customers and prospects. It's cut down on phone tag and cut down on emails back and forth about, is this a good time? Is this a good time? All of that. So what I have incorporated into my communication with customers and prospects is an appointment app. Now, I've got Calendly here as a graphic just to fill some space on the slide. It is my choice of appointment app. Yours could be very different. If you do a Google search on best appointment apps for 2021 or 2020, you'll see there are all kinds available. There's one called 10 to 8 that I looked at. There's one called Acuity that many of my colleagues enjoy. I enjoy the simplicity of Calendly. And here's how it works. If I want to have a conversation with, I'm just going to pick Mary Murphy, I'm going to send her an email, and in that email will be a link. And I'm going to say, you know, Mary, let's organize a time for a quick conversation. Here's a link to view my calendar and choose a time that works best for you. So when she opens that link, all the blue dates that you see are going to be options where I have, in this example, 15 minutes available. And when she clicks on one, in this example, she's going to click on the 29th, she'll see I'm not available in the morning, but I am available from noon until 1:45. So when she clicks on 12 or 12:15 or 1 o'clock, she's going to be able to create a calendar invite for herself and myself. And it will appear in both our calendars, along with how we're going to reach each other. So in this case, Mary Jane is going to call 514-555-5555. So it simplifies everything. It's a meeting, And because it's a meeting, both of us are going to be more focused and prepared and efficient for that call. We know we have 15 minutes and we're going to have a better call, whether it's on Zoom or video, I should say, or by phone. So this has allowed me to reach more people more often and have effective and efficient conversations. Now, once we're talking to each other, we want to bring in the agenda. And the agenda also addresses these phone communication questions that I receive regularly. How do you end a call? How do I make sure I get all my questions answered? How do I stop my calls from going off track? What do I do when the other person takes over the call? What's the best way to make sure the next step is clear and understood on a call? How can I make all my conversations efficient so I can have more control of my time? How can I make things happen? These are all questions that I get asked during webinars and workshops. So we want to help the other person relax into the call, and we want to help them make decisions. And this is the role of the agenda. Many of you will have attended meetings, boardroom meetings, committee meetings, where when you walk into the meeting, the agenda is on the table. And I'm pretty sure that the first thing you do when you choose your seat is you look at that agenda. And you judge from that agenda how long the meeting's going to be. Not only that, you look at that agenda throughout the meeting to keep yourself and perhaps others on track during the meeting. So it works the same when we are on the phone or on video. The human brain loves numbers. Numbers appeal to the logical side of our brain, right? So they keep us organized, but they also help avoid big emotions. If you're talking to customers that are upset or agitated or any of those things, giving them numbers to focus on can really help deal with that emotional side of the conversation. But they also work like the bouncing ball in karaoke. So when I let you know that there are 5 items that we're going to talk about, for example, you are going to go, okay, 5, this will take maybe 20 minutes and maybe 30. Okay, so you kind of have a rough idea what the time is going to be. And when we talk about the first item, you're going to make a decision because you know there's a second item. And you're going to do the same for the second item because you know there's a third item. So having the items numbered moves everybody through the call a step at a time. And we make decisions for each item because we know there's another item. And then when we get to the 5th item, we know the call is going to end. And it's a comfortable ending because everybody knew there were 5 items. So I've given some sample scripting here. I'm gonna have to move some things around so I can read it with you. So hi, Jillian. Thanks for setting aside time to speak with me today. There are 4 items I want to review with you before our training next week. So Jillian knows that this call is probably gonna take 10 to 15 minutes. So first, how many staff are confirmed to attend the training? That's great. We'll send along the pre-webinar survey link for everyone later today. Second, are you expecting that anyone will have difficulty with the technology? Any issues with internet connections? Let's see if I've done that right. Are there any people who are going to attend by audio only? Third, are you or other managers attending the training as well? That's something I always like to confirm because I do like supervisors, managers to attend any training that I deliver. Finally, what additional information do you need me to share with your team? Do you have any questions or comments about the upcoming webinars? So that last item, it's the fourth item, but I'm starting it with finally. So again, I am setting this call up to end at this item, although it's a open-ended question. If they have questions or comments, obviously I'm going to stay on the call. But there's a pattern here that keeps the call efficient and organized. And not only that, I'm able to prepare for this ahead of time so that I don't forget anything. I don't miss out on a question or a piece of information that I really want to share. So I just want to make sure I haven't missed a slide. Nope. Okay, good. So the first thing we want to do is we want to be really clear about what is the best possible outcome for this call, and then work backwards. Sometimes when we're meeting with customers or prospects, we aren't clear. What do we want out of this call? Where do we want this call to go? And it's important to think about that ahead of time in order to create something that is effective and efficient. Now, you can use paper here, and you can just, like, don't worry about being neat and organized on this piece of paper. Scribble, draw, use arrows, whatever you have to do, but create some clarity for yourself about how you want this call to go before you make the call. That will really, really help. And then consider the time available. So maybe the customer has told you they only have 10 minutes, or maybe you only have 10 minutes. So you want to think about the time available for the call and create a logical agenda based on that and your outcome. And what order is going to create the flow that you need to support decision making. So if you have to give them, for example, some information before they be able to make a decision with you, then you want to set that up in a logical way so that they can come to the decision as a path, as a journey with you. You do want to leave room for discussion and questions. And this is my weakness, I must say, is that I can create agendas that are far too tight and don't leave enough room for discussion and questions. So you do want to make sure that you do that. And you can share the agenda. So you can share the agenda via email if you wish before a phone call, or you can create one slide and put the agenda up for the video call. And one of the reasons I like doing this, and my clients like doing this, is that they're not full screen camera. Over the last year, I think many of us have gotten very, very tired of looking at ourselves. And often our customers are not that comfortable with that either. So if you can help them be postage stamp size plus your postage stamp size, that often helps everybody have a bigger comfort level when you're on screen. And the agenda is there, so it keeps everybody focused throughout the conversation. So you can practice preparing an agenda for your calls and having it in front of yourself to stay on track. Okay. It can be any length. You can have it on a scrap of paper. You can have it on that shared slide. You don't have to share it with the customer or the prospect, but you can. It's up to you what you're going to find that will be most efficient. But acknowledge for yourself where you want to go with the call or the meeting beforehand. Now, you still have to listen carefully to where the call or the meeting is going, because you may have to adjust based on what the customer or the potential client starts to tell you. And you can do that easily. Let's say that you've said the agenda is going to have 4 items. Maybe they say something when you're talking about the 3rd item and you go, oh, we should address that. So I would say, I'll go back to picking on Mary Murphy. I would say, Mary, based on what you just said, I'm going to add one more item to our agenda. Let's talk a little bit about X, Y, Z. So you can still adjust the agenda to meet what's happening in the conversation, because the joy of the conversation, the power of conversation, is that we hear opportunities and embrace them, include them, but you can incorporate them into an existing agenda. So again, you're staying on track, you're being effective, you're being efficient. And you do want to move the conversation to a conclusion, hopefully a next step. If you are working on a project or creating a new relationship with a potential client, you want to move to the next step. And my best advice is to move towards a phrase that says, the next best step is. So at the end of every call we have with customers or prospects, there's always a next best step. And you want to say it out loud. Now, in many cases, your customer or your prospect will agree. So for example, if it's a prospect, you might say, well, based on everything you've shared with me, the next best step is for me to prepare a proposal. Or with a conversation yesterday with a client, we ended with, well, the next best step is for me to create the survey that everybody needs to fill out for the webinar and get that off to you along with the Zoom link we're going to use. Now, when you present this next best step, if there's an objection, they will raise it here. They'll say, oh no, we're not ready for that, or we have some concerns about. So sharing that next best step moves a project forward, or it reveals objections, and you do want to hear those, right? Okay, so that leaves us some time for questions, comments, thoughts. Is this something that you are already doing, using an agenda for your calls? And if so, share with us how that's working. And if you're not already using it, what are your thoughts on incorporating it into the work that you're doing? So again, I'm keeping one eye on chat, but also if you want to raise your hand, then I can allow you to speak to me in real time, which I prefer. Always good to hear people's voices on these calls. So don't hesitate to raise your hand if you've got a question or a comment. Sanara, good to see you. Stephanie Coldwell, good to see you. I have a partner, I guess it's a partner webinar to this one, which relates more to inbound calls. What I've discovered over the last 2 years anyway, is there is an increase in anxiety among many people about inbound calls. They're not comfortable with the improvisation that takes place when they answer a call and they're not sure what the customer is going to ask or what the potential customer is going to ask. So on the next webinar on April 21st, we're going to talk about how to create the focus for successful inbound customer service calls, so that no matter what those customers are asking you, you can turn that into a call that has a pattern that moves towards a best possible outcome. And again, it's going to be a 30-minute, same format as you're enjoying now. So I see that somebody does have their hand up, so I'm going to find out who that is. Where is that raised hand? Or maybe somebody's already taken it down. I'm not seeing that hand up at the moment. So maybe somebody clicked it by in error. Okay. Hi, Nicole. Good to see you. Paxton, welcome. Oh, there's Neil. No problem, Neil. If you have a question, feel free to put it in chat, or I don't mind talking to you. Know that all, not all, but we're working towards getting all of the webinars up on YouTube. And no worries at all, Neil. It's fine. It's totally fine. So I encourage you to go to YouTube, and if you're comfortable, if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel. If we have 100 subscribers, we can actually call the channel Inspire Conversation. And I really, 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 really want to do that. So we actually need 60 more subscribers to make that happen. So if you have it, if you're comfortable with it and can go and subscribe to that channel, that's great. Sanera, you have to leave a little early, but thank you. You're very welcome. It's great to have you here. And also to let you know that I am doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with salespeople and entrepreneurs and independent professionals of all sorts. And I love it. I love creating that coaching program that goes exactly where you want it to go, so that you get exactly what you need out of it, can walk away with new skills that you can use right away. So if that's of interest, please check out inspire-conversation.com. So with 3 minutes left, questions, comments, thoughts from anybody, again, feel free to raise your hand or put some comments in chat and I will address them. Did you take away what you expected to take away today? Is the information something that is going to be of value to you as you are speaking to both customers and prospects, creating this agenda for the call? How will that be helpful to you? And what questions do you have? What thoughts do you have? Anybody at all? I'm checking chat, so feel free to share any of your thoughts there. And I'm looking to see if there's any hands raised. Alicia, thanks so much. I will be checking out Calendly. Good, Alicia. It's a great, definitely a great resource. And I do have a hand up, so I just have to go and find it. There, it's Nicole. Nicole, I'm going to allow you to talk, so go right ahead. Unmute yourself and let us know what your question is.
Oh, great. Thanks, Mary Jane. This has been wonderful, very informative. I was starting to write in the chat, but I can't type as fast as I can talk. So I'm going to be contacting you for some one-on-one outbound call anxiety reduction therapy. That's what we'll call it.
Great. I love that.
Yes, yes. And I just signed up a couple of weeks ago for a scheduling platform, the one that comes through Squarespace. So I'm really looking forward to using that. I sent out my first link to a potential client today, and now I know how to organize our call. So this is perfect timing, very informative. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole. That's great. And Nicole has reminded me of a story that I can share with everybody. One of the big payoffs for me of that using Calendly in my case was that in one day, within 30 minutes, I got 2 emails one morning, one from a CEO in Toronto and one from a senior VP in BC, both wanting to book discovery calls with me. And I knew from their titles and so on that even if I picked up the phone immediately, I wouldn't reach them. So I emailed them both with a link to Calendly, and within an hour, they were both booked with a conversation with me. And, that was about $8,000 worth of business that we were able to organize. So definitely do check out using a calendar app, an appointment app, to book your appointments. Okay, we are at the half-hour mark. So my promise is to end at the half-hour mark unless there are questions. I'll certainly stick around for any questions or comments, but otherwise, I wish you a great day. Let people know that this video will be up on YouTube in the next few days, and perhaps I will see you here in 2 weeks' time.